You've already made the decision. You know what you want to do. Somewhere underneath all the noise, you know. You knew before you started analyzing it. Before you asked 3 people their opinion. Before you opened a new tab to research something you already understood. You knew. And yet here you are, still thinking, still circling, still waiting for a certainty that never quite arrives. That is not a thinking problem. That is what it feels like when you don't trust yourself. And until you understand that, no productivity hack, no journaling prompt, no 5 steps to stop overthinking is going to touch it. Because you cannot think your way out of something that was never caused by thinking in the first place. Most people describe overthinking as having too many thoughts. But that is like describing a fever as being too warm. Technically accurate, completely missing the point. Overthinking is not an excess of thought. It is a search. A very specific search, running on a loop, for one thing your nervous system cannot find. Permission. Permission to act. Permission to choose. Permission to be wrong and survive it. Permission to trust the version of you that already knows what to do. Think about the last time you overthought something. Really think about it. Were you missing information? Probably not. You had enough. Were you confused about what you wanted? Unlikely. You knew. What you were actually doing, underneath all the analysis, was looking for a guarantee. A sign that the decision was safe, that you wouldn't regret it, that no one would judge it, that it would work. And your mind, being the loyal and exhausting instrument it is, kept searching, kept turning the question over, kept generating new angles, not because new angles were needed, but because the search had not been called off yet. The search only ends when trust arrives, and trust cannot be found by thinking harder. You were not always like this. There was a version of you, younger, less careful, who made decisions quickly, who acted on instinct, who tried things without needing to know how they would end. Something taught you that version of yourself was dangerous. Maybe a decision you made that went badly and someone made sure you remembered it. Maybe an environment where being wrong had a cost. Social, emotional, real. Maybe simply a long enough pattern of outcomes that didn't match your expectations, until some quiet part of you concluded that your judgment could not be relied upon. So you outsourced it to more thinking, to other people's opinions, to research and data and second guessing, to anything that felt more reliable than your own instinct. That is not weakness, that is an adaptation. Your mind found a way to protect you from the pain of being wrong. The problem is it never learned to stop. Here is the solution nobody wants to hear, because it is slower than a technique and simpler than a system. You rebuild trust the same way you build it with anyone, through small kept promises. Not grand commitments, not life-changing decisions, small ones. Ones where the stakes are low enough that your nervous system doesn't flood, but real enough that completing them means something. You say you will wake up at a certain time, you do it. You say you will send the message today, you send it. You say you will make the decision by Thursday. Thursday comes and you decide, imperfectly, incompletely, without full certainty, and you live with it. Each of those moments does something that no amount of self-analysis can replicate. It gives your inner self evidence. Evidence that your word to yourself means something. That when you decide, something actually happens. That the version of you making decisions can be trusted to follow through and to handle whatever comes after. The overthinking doesn't disappear overnight, but it begins to lose its grip. Because the loop, that exhausting search for permission, slowly gets shorter. Not because you found the guarantee you were looking for, but because you stopped needing one. You started trusting the person doing the deciding. Overthinking is not a flaw in your intelligence. It is loyalty to a fear that once made sense. Your mind learned that your judgment was unsafe, and it has been trying to protect you from that ever since. With more analysis, more options, more noise, but you cannot think your way back to trusting yourself. You can only act your way back. One small decision, followed through, then another. That is how the loop ends. Not with a breakthrough, not with a better system, with evidence, built quietly, moment by moment, that you are someone who can be trusted, by yourself,